Hello everybody, welcome to the video on section 9.5 day 1, solving quadratic equations by completing the square. I've already completed the warm-up, and if you guys want to pause the video and try it, you can, and then check your answers, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to today's lesson. Now, just a little warning, today's lesson is an advanced Algebra 1 topic. It won't really come up until Algebra 2, but we would like to expose you guys to it now and do a couple problems with it. So this is kind of going to be a challenge day. Okay, so today's goal is to try to get a perfect square trinomial. Now the question is, what makes this a perfect square trinomial? Well, try to factor it. So let's make a multiply-add table, and let's try to find two numbers that add to 6 and multiply to 9. What are those numbers? Well, they end up being 3 and 3. So when you go and factor, remember our shortcut, if it's 3 and 3, it'll be x plus 3, x plus 3. And another way to write that is x plus 3 squared. That's why it's called a perfect square trinomial. You can write it as something squared because it's a factor times itself. Now today we're going to make those. We're going to make them happen, and here is how you make it happen. To find this number, you take the middle number b, you divide it by 2, and then you square it. Okay, that's how you find this third number. Now let me just write it up here. It's the b number divided by 2, and then that answer squared. Now, how we find the number that helps make it squared ends up just being the b over 2. Whatever you got from b over 2, that's the number that goes here. And then the number that goes here is that number squared. Okay, let's see if that works on this problem. Let's say the 9 wasn't there. Take 6 divided by 2, which is 3, and square it. 3 squared is 9. Okay, so it works. And then let's say you were trying to do this part. To find this number, you take that b and you divide it by 2. Okay, so what's 6 divided by 2? Well, it is 3. So it does work. So this is what we're going to be using today. This is how you find a perfect square trinomial and then factor it. All right, let's do an example. I kind of don't like this example. I'm going to change it, and I'm going to make this a 6. Oh no, this one was a 6. Let's make it a 4. Let's make it a 4. We don't want the same problem. All right, it says find the value of c that would make this a perfect square trinomial. So I'm going to rewrite it. X squared plus 4x plus blank. Find that number. Find that number that would make it a perfect square trinomial. Well, what did we say? To find that number, you take b divided by 2 squared. Okay, so in this case, b is 4. So we're going to take 4 divided by 2 squared. All right, what is that? Well, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. So the answer is 4. All right, let's try some more of those, just like that, same thing. For these, it says, again, find the missing number, find the value of c that would make this a perfect square trinomial. And again, these are really, really easy. You take the middle number, 8, you divide it by 2, and you square it. That's how you find C, the third number. All right, what is 8 divided by 2? Well, that's 4. 4 squared is 16, so it looks like this last number would be 16. Okay, so the answer is 16. Find the value of C. We could write C as 16. All right, 16. Now, we're not done. Now it says, then write it as a perfect square. So when you write it as a perfect square, it's going to be x plus or minus something squared. All right, so what would that something be? Well, that something is the b over 2. Okay, so in this case, what was just the b over 2 part? The b over 2 was just the 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So this goes here. X plus 4 quantity squared. Okay, so these questions are asking two things. Find the missing number that makes it a perfect square, and then turn it into a perfect square. All right, let's try 2. First thing, find C. Find the third number that would make it a perfect square. And the rule is, take the b term, negative 12, divide it by 2, and square it. That'll give us C. All right, what is that? Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 squared is 36. Okay, so our C value is 36. That's what they want first. Find C. That would be 36. And then actually write out what is the perfect square. So the perfect square will be written like this. There's always an x out front. Okay, to find that number, it's b over 2. So just this part. What was the b over 2? Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6, so that's what goes here. X minus 6 quantity squared. And lastly, number 3, find that third number. Again, it's b over 2 squared. So 3 divided by 2 squared. And this one, I'm just going to type in the calculator. 3 over 2 squared. I'm going to use the alpha y equals fraction, and I'm going to type in 3 halves squared. And I get 9/4. Actually, I'm going to leave my answer like that, 9/4. Okay, so that's the value of C, 9/4. Now, actually writing the perfect square, it's going to be x plus or minus something. To find that something, remember it was just the b over 2, just this part. And I'm just going to leave it like that, 3 halves. I know it doesn't look pretty, but that is the perfect square. Okay, again, this is called completing the square. On the next page, we're going to try to solve some. Okay, so this method is called solve by completing the square. And here is what you guys do. We're going to rewrite the problem, but we're going to leave a space to find that special number. Okay, you always want the constant on the right-hand side of the wall. Okay, so we want to leave this guy here. We need to find that special number. Okay, we just did a bunch of these. How do we find the special number? Well, the formula is b divided by 2 squared. That's going to give us that special number, that's C. Okay, what is negative 16 divided by 2 squared? Well, it's negative 8. Negative 8 squared is 64. Now, because we're solving an equation, if you randomly add 64 to the left side of the wall, we are going to need to balance it out by also adding 64 to the right-hand side of the wall. Whatever you add to this side, you have to add to this side to balance it out. Okay, now next step, we need to write this as a perfect square. So remember, we just did this on the front. To find this, it's going to be x, and then this number was just, remember, it was just the b over 2 part. So just this part, negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8 squared. You're going to write it as the perfect square. Okay, now on the right-hand side of the wall, let's go ahead and just add these together. Negative 15 plus 64 is 49. Okay, you guys should remember these now. You just did these, I think, like yesterday or something. How do you solve something like this? Well, we square root both sides. Remember that? Square rooting a square cancels. You're left with x minus 8 equals, the square root of 49 is 7, but don't forget you're always 2 answers, plus or minus. And then to truly finish, we need to add that 8. Add the 8 to both sides. All right, let's get our answers. I'm going to finish this over here if there's room. We have x equals, all right, you got to take the 8 plus or minus the 7. So that's going to give us 2 answers, right? One of them's going to be the 8 plus 7, and one of them's going to be the 8 minus 7. 8 plus 7 is 15. And 8 minus 7 is 1. So your solutions are 15 and 1. Okay, again guys, this is a challenge problem. It's more of an Algebra 2 topic, but we're just going to introduce it. Okay, so we're going to try one more of these, and then in class we're going to go over more. Okay, first step, rewrite the problem. Leave a blank for the missing term, and then you want to keep the 3 on the other side of the wall. Okay, let's find our special number. To find the special number, remember we take b divided by 2 squared. Okay, what is that? Well, negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. So our special number is 1. But to balance out the equation, if we add 1 to the left, we need to add 1 to the right. Okay, now let's turn this into our perfect square. So what would that be? Well, it's going to be x, and then this number is, remember, it's just the b over 2. So just this guy, negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. On the right-hand side, we're going to add 3 plus 1, and that is 4. And now we solve, and you guys should know what you're doing. We square root both sides, because square rooting will cancel a square. We're left with x minus 1 equals, all right, square root of 4 is 2. Don't forget plus or minus. To officially get x alone, we need to add the 1 to the other side. And we have x equals, all right, we have the 1 plus or minus the 2. I always like to rewrite it. All right, so we're almost done. Our 2 answers are, we have the 1 plus the 2 and we have the 1 minus the 2. 1 plus 2 is 3, and 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So those are your solutions. Again, this is called completing the square. Thanks for watching, and we'll go over this tomorrow.